Okay, so today we're going to be looking at demonic soccer logos or soccer teams with demonic logos. So the first one we have is Manchester United from the UK. This one is not even hard to understand because the slogan of the team is Red Devils. So if you are going to call yourself a devil, well, guess who you work for? The devil. And one thing that you should note about this logo is the fact that you see that little creature there in the middle. That thing it has, it's like a spade. I forgot what it's, a Trojan, or I forgot what they call it, but that's what demons use in hell. Once upon a time the Lord took me to hell and I saw demons stabbing people when they were trying to come out of the fire using that same spear or whatever they call it, so this is a team that is leading you to hell, and it comes from the pits of hell. And then the second team we're going to talk about is Mamelodi Sundowns, and this one has the Illuminati signs, hand sign. You see there's two fingers, but it basically represents Satanism. It's like an Illuminati sign to say we are aligned with Satan. And mind you, look at how the hand is pointing up to a star. That's the star of Satan, the star of Baphomet. And they usually win this star after playing like other African countries. It's like the UEFA of Africa. It's called CAF. But what I'm trying to say is, it's actually pointing to the astral kingdom to say the sky is the limit, which is a lie, because the sky is not the limit, because heaven is beyond the sky. It's not even in here on earth, but the astral kingdom is up there in the sky. The higher you go up, there's the astral kingdom there. So it is lying, it's perverting the truth by saying there's nothing after there. The sky is where it ends. It doesn't want to tell you about Jesus Christ because it is pointing to Satan. That's why you see the hand is pointing up and it's pointing to the star of Satan. Yeah, so it says Satan is the limit. Satan is the God, basically, in other terms. In other terms, it's basically pointing to Satan. So this team is very big in South Africa. It's also like it funds a demonic church called ZCC, which once again has also the star, the bright star, and it's a demonic team from South Africa, very, very demonic. And then the other team we're going to talk about is Sporting FC. And this team basically it represents, I don't know if you guys take note of the fact that that thing right there, they claim that it's a lion, but it's not a lion. Okay, it is not a lion. It's actually like a dragon, like a lion dragon, because one thing you'll notice about the team that play in the Premier League, they usually have this type of creature, and it seems as if it has fire coming out of its mouth. It's because it's a lion that basically represents Satan. Remember, the Bible says Satan walks around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour, for people to devour. So that flame is the roaring of Satan, because he is roaring and people are falling into it because they are following these teams. And the things that they do at the stadiums, the fights that happen, people hate each other because of these teams. These teams actually divide people instead of bringing them closer together. Nowadays a lot of people are even betting on these teams and they are losing a lot of money. So these teams are not bringing you closer to Jesus Christ, but they are taking you far away. So it's a demonic logo. And then the other team, we have Ajax Amsterdam, and this one is very interesting because instead of putting logos or hand gestures or demonic animals, they actually put up a man there. You might be wondering, who's that man in the logo? It's Alexander the Great. So why would they put him there? It's because of the gods that he used to follow. Remember, they don't care about the man, they care about his spirituality. Because if the man followed demons and you follow the team, it's like you following the demons that the man followed. So Alexander the Great believed in ancient Greek polytheistic religion, including the gods like Zeus, demonic gods, which fallen angels. Actually, they're not even gods. Zeus and Athena, or Apollo and Hercules, or Hercule. And basically he was a demonic man who had demonic background, and his family, his mother was also a witch. And they put him here up on the logo. Why? Because they know if you follow the team and this guy is on the logo, then you follow this guy. That's why I remember in the Bible when God said, give me a denarius, and they gave him, and he said, whose superscription is this? And they said, Alexander the Great. Not Alexander the Great, but they said Caesar, and he said, to give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar. So when you follow this guy, this team, you're following this guy too. And then we also have Orlando Pirates, which is one of the biggest teams, the big teams in South Africa. And this one is not even hard to explain. It's the spirit of death. Wherever you see skull and bones, we know that that is associated with the Masons and certain cults. It is the spirit of death, and it's very, very big in South Africa. Matter of fact, some people actually paint themselves white and go to the stadiums because they want to represent the spirit of death better. And this team is very, very demonic. Why am I saying that? Is because it's associated with a certain beer called Black Label, and a lot of people who follow this team, they drink a lot of beer. So there's an association between this team and that alcohol beverage called Black Label. But other than that, you see the star of Satan there at the top, and that's what they strive to get. That's the highest accolade that you can get as a team, that star of Satan, and they have it. I think they still have one or two, I'm not sure. But then you see that if you follow this team, who are you actually following? Remember, these logos are not there to make the logo look appealing. No, it's a way for you to be condemned, because when you die, God will ask you, don't you see that represents death? Didn't I say that let the dead bury the dead? Didn't I say do not consult the dead, for the dead know nothing? Why were you following death? And you will have nothing to say, and you'll be condemned to hell. And then the other one that we have is Brentford, and this one is very, very hard to detect because it seems innocent. It looks like a bee. It's a bee, and there's nothing really wrong about it because it's just a bee. But when you actually take your time to look at the logo, it's actually an X. You understand? X. And the X represents Satan. Why? Because an X is like a cross perverted. Because Satan always wants to give you an alternative from the way of God. So that's a cross that is, slightly been tilted to the side, and it causes an X. So X in the demonic kingdom represents Satan. That's why even when you see the children of Satan like Elon Musk, he came through, destroyed Twitter, the name Twitter, and called it what? X. Why? Because it belongs to Satan. When you want to go watch porn videos, what are they called? X, X, X. So X represents Satan. So you see that the B is just a distraction. The X is the one that is in the background, and the team is representing Satan. Yes, and it's an X. And actually, if you look at it, it kind of looks like a Nazi sign if you remove the B and leave the legs there. But despite that, it's basically a demonic sign. And then the other sign that we have is Kaizer Chiefs, and this one is very interesting because think of it like this: in South Africa, we have nothing to do. We have no relation with native Indians, not even slightly. We don't talk about them. There's nothing that brings us closer to them, or we acknowledge them in any type of way. It's like they are like some certain tribe from Tibet. We could care less. So why would they pick this mascot, the native Indian, to be as the face of the team? Is because of the slogan. The slogan, they say rise Kosi rise, which means rise native chiefs rise. So the principality are the native chiefs that used to work for Satan. So when you say rise Kosi rise, you are conjuring up those demons, those fallen people that used to work for Satan. And not only that, there's also another slogan for the team that says Kosi for life. That means Kaizer Chiefs for life, meaning that native Satanist for life. You are cursing yourself. So it's a demonic team. And then the other one, we have Liverpool, and once again, you see those remember the spade that we saw at in the beginning of the video, the Manchester. That's the other one. That's the other spade that the demons use in hell. You see at the top there's three like sharp things. The spades look like that. It's a demonic sign. I don't know what it actually represents, but I know it's a demonic logo. And we see that the design there at the top is like the gates that you get in Britain. Those are usually the designs that you get at the gates of the British, castles and, royal houses and stuff. And basically, it's also satanic. That bird is like, it's not even a normal bird. It's called a mystical mythical comrade like bird. It doesn't even have a name. So if when you don't when you get something that doesn't even have a name, or they can't even tell you what it is, it's a demon. It's like a dragon. Basically it's a dragon, and a dragon represents Satan, represents demons. So it's a demon at the main center of the logo. And these are the teams that you guys are following blindly, thinking that you will follow this and then end up in heaven. No ways. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to watch these sports. I watch them. You watch, oh, okay, this team won, okay, it's good. You can watch them here and there, but do not follow them. Why? Because the principality above them is Satan. This is Satan. This is the Satan of the Premier League. Remember, Satan walks around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. The amount of people he devours each and every single year from soccer, whether through alcohol, through fights, through gambling, through addiction, there's a lot of people he devours. And trust me when I tell you that there's soccer pitches in hell. There's actually stadiums, different types of stadiums, the baseball, soccer, rugby, whatever you are addicted to. If you idolize those sports to a point whereby you feel as if there's nothing better than the soccer teams or the Premier League, when you die, you go to the Premier League side of hell. You understand? Part of hell. You go to the Premier League part of hell, and there you'll be kicking skulls and you'll be burning, and the seats that you're going to be sitting on are going to be melting your behind, and you're going to be screaming. At that time, you won't love football the way that you love football right now, because you idolize football. That's all you think about. You're concerned about who they are signing, who they are sending away. You don't even know 3 verses, but you know everything about your team, who they are going to employ as a new coach. That's demonic. When you die and you stand in front of God, your stats based on your teams will not get you into heaven. Matter of fact, God will say, "Depart from me, you worker of iniquity," because you worked for Satan. And then once again, we have this mythical bird. We don't know what it is, but it's basically a demon. And I see a common theme between the logos. In the logos from the UK, it's either they usually have this like dragon looking thing, or they have a bird. Between the two, sometimes they might have wolves, like the team wolf. There's a wolf there. There's a team that has a fox and a few other animals, but in most cases it's usually a lion or this type of bird. That's because those are the main principality behind the teams. So just note that these logos represent the principalities, the international demons that are ruling the industry, the soccer industry. These are remember, there's principalities, there's powers, there's rulers, and there's spiritual wickedness in high places. These are the spiritual wickedness in high places, the international demons. Because how many people love Liverpool across the world? Lots and lots of people across every single country. There's someone there who loves Liverpool. So there are international demons that are working against the will of God. Because tell me one person that you know who is a huge football fan who also loves Jesus Christ. They are very, very rare. I don't even know one. So when you are addicted to soccer, you are not going to follow Jesus Christ. There's something that you can't pinpoint it, but there's something that makes you feel as if you're wasting time when you're seeking God. And then the other one, we have Everton. And the thing about Everton is that you see those little like crowns at the side. I don't know what they call. It's like leaves or something. It's like wheat. Those are the ones that you find on Alexander the Great and all these Greek kings. They used to wear that. It's like a demonic crown in the satanic world. And we see that like the UK teams, the Premier League teams, they also have a lot of castles. Why would they have a lot of castles? Is because, remember, the castles were the houses of the oppressors or the Satanists that were oppressing people demonically. So the children of Satan that Satan had appointed, most of them were not even human. And Satan appointed them to oppress the other people demonically. So these were the houses that they used to stay in. So Satan is very proud of the houses that he gave to these people. So he always portrays them in different logos and stuff. So you see a lot of castles everywhere. New castle, you will also see a castle there. So the castles, Satan is proud of them because it is where his children used to stay. It's the same way that Satan is very proud of the pyramids and stuff like that. Anything that gives glory to him, he wants us to put it on logos and to promote it at all times because he is proud of his evilness. So if there's history of him doing something, he wants us to see it forever and ever. And then the other team, we have Chelsea, and once again we see that so-called lion, with its tongue out, or it's like flame. I'm telling you, this is not a lion, it is Satan. Satan walks around like a roaring lion. It's the same thing. And you see that flower there is actually a octagon. It's that demonic sign. And we see that that's the ruling principality. The Premier League is ruled by a demonic lion, Satan himself. And sometimes he puts himself in these logos, or sometimes he puts the bird, the demonic bird, which represents like a dragon, which is Satan once again when you read Revelation. So we see that these teams, man, the logos, they point to Satan. There's no team that glorifies Jesus Christ. Why? Because Jesus Christ didn't come to bring division among people, you understand, but only among family members, you understand, because he understands that if you choose to stand firm for Christ, then the bloodline curses and the demonic spirits in your bloodline are not going to like that, because they know that you're going to break things, but Jesus Christ wants us to be united as a people. Why? Because he understands where two or more are gathered, there also will I be. So he wants us to work as a team, because in the demonic kingdom, the witches, they work together. That's why they're called the coven of witches. They work together as a team. So these principalities and demonic spirits, they work together as teams to send people to hell. And then the other one, we have Manchester City, and once again we have the octagon there. You understand? That octagon sign, it represents something. There's something about it. And I haven't gone deep as to understand what it means, but I know that it's satanic. I know that if you actually look at it, it's actually a star. It's a star of Satan. It's a star of Baphomet. So once again, these teams, they stand for Satan. They don't stand for Jesus Christ. They will never promote anything holy. They want you to be entertained all the way to hell. Because think of people who really, really love these teams to a point whereby they have their stickers and they paint their houses and their cars. It's an obsession. Where do you think they'll go when they die? Do you really think that Jesus Christ will say, oh, wow, you played your part on earth by loving this soccer team, come into heaven? No, they're going to be told, depart from me, you work of iniquity, I never knew you. So the aim of these teams is to keep you entertained all the way to hell, to keep you occupied by things that don't really matter in life. So what? Okay, this team wins the cup. So what? How does that help you in your life? How does that give you glory in your life? How does that glorify Jesus Christ? How does that help your family? Because think of it like this. It's only one team that will win a cup. The rest of them will lose. So if you are going to be mad based on the fact that your team lost, how many times are you going to be mad in a week? Many times, because the team will be always losing. So please, guys, beware. Do not fall for these tricks. Do not fall for these teams. They lead to hell. If you are addicted to them, you are going to end up in hell. They are demonic. They stand for Satanism. There's many other logos I can speak about, but all I want to say to you is pursue Jesus Christ only. Focus on him. You can watch soccer, but don't let it control you or consume your day, including any other sport. You can watch it, moderately sometimes, but don't allow it to control you. So please stay in Christ. Do not be deceived. Jesus Christ is Lord. Thank you.